Welcome back to All Over, where we bring you the biggest news from around the world, clear, brief, and straight to the point. This past month has been intense. We've seen major diplomacy in the Middle East, new pressure on Ukraine, migration debates in Europe, political unrest in Latin America, major climate warnings, and artificial intelligence becoming a global power issue. Let's get into it. The biggest story this month is the new U.S. Iran interim agreement. After weeks of tension and conflict, the United States and Iran signed a deal meant to stop military escalation, reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and begin a 60-day negotiation process over Iran's nuclear program. This matters because the Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important oil routes in the world. If that area shuts down, oil prices can rise everywhere, affecting gas, food, shipping, and the global economy. But the deal is still fragile. Critics say the hardest issues, including nuclear restrictions, sanctions, and regional security, are still not fully solved. That agreement became one of the main topics at the G7 summit in France, where leaders from the United States, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the United Kingdom gathered to discuss the world's biggest problems. The summit focused on Iran, Ukraine, China, artificial intelligence, energy, and the global economy. Leaders publicly supported the Iran deal, but they also made it clear that long-term peace will depend on what happens next. The war in Ukraine also remained a major issue. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky used the G7 meeting to ask for more help, especially air defense systems and support for Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Russia continues to launch missile and drone attacks, while Ukraine says it needs stronger protection to defend civilians and critical infrastructure. G7 leaders promised more support, but the war is still far from over. In Europe, migration became another major political flashpoint. The European Parliament backed a new law that would allow EU countries to create offshore detention centers and speed up deportations for rejected asylum seekers and visa overstayers. Supporters say the policy will help governments control migration more effectively. Critics argue it could weaken protections for vulnerable migrants and asylum seekers. This shows how immigration remains one of the most divisive issues in European politics. In Latin America, Bolivia faced major anti-government protests. Demonstrators took to the streets over rising living costs, fuel issues, and economic pressure. Road blockades caused major disruption, with business groups warning that the crisis was costing the economy millions of dollars per day. The government warned that stronger security measures could be used if the protests continue. In Africa, Kenya pushed for a major critical minerals deal with the United States. President William Ruto said Kenya wants to process more resources locally instead of just exporting raw materials. This includes minerals like lithium, graphite, copper, nickel, and rare earths, materials that are important for electric vehicles, batteries, and advanced technology. The bigger story here is that African countries are trying to keep more value from their natural resources instead of letting foreign powers extract the wealth and leave. Still in Africa, South Africa saw a rising tension around immigration. Major labor unions urged workers not to join anti-migrant protests, warning that blaming foreigners will not solve unemployment, crime, or economic problems. The situation reflects a wider challenge in many countries. When the economy is difficult, migrants often become political targets. There was also a major ocean protection agreement signed in Kenya. 15 countries adopted the Mombasa Declaration to fight illegal fishing. Illegal fishing is a huge global problem, costing billions of dollars and threatening communities that depend on the ocean for food and income. The agreement calls for more transparency around fishing vessels, licenses, and ownership. In Asia, security tensions continued to rise in the Indo-Pacific. Japan has been moving toward a stronger defense role, including deeper defense ties with countries like the Philippines, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. The concern behind this is China's growing military influence in the region and uncertainty over how much countries can depend on the United States in a crisis. North Korea and China also drew attention after Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to North Korea. Both sides claimed diplomatic wins, and analysts say the visit pulled North Korea closer into China's orbit. That matters because North Korea remains one of the most isolated and militarized countries in the world, and China's relationship with Pyongyang affects security across East Asia. Now to the economy. The global economy is under pressure from energy shocks, inflation, supply chain problems, and geopolitical uncertainty. The OECD warned that if disruption continues, global growth could slow sharply, with developing countries especially vulnerable. Higher energy prices can affect almost everything: transportation, food, manufacturing, and household bills. In Asia, energy markets are still adjusting after the Iran-related shock. Liquefied natural gas demand in Asia began recovering, with China returning to the market. This shows how quickly global energy supply problems can spread from one region to another. Climate was another major story this month. Scientists reported that May 2026 was the second hottest May ever recorded globally. Western Europe also experienced one of its strongest early-season heat waves. Climate experts say these extreme heat patterns are consistent with what scientists expect as the planet continues to warm. Another major warning came from reporting on children and climate hazards. Nearly all children worldwide are now exposed to at least one major climate threat, such as extreme heat, flooding, drought, air pollution, or water stress. This shows that climate change is not just an environmental issue. It is a health, safety, and survival issue, especially for children in poor and vulnerable communities. In natural disasters, a magnitude 6.1 earthquake struck off the coast of southern Italy in early June. The quake was deep underground, which helped reduce the risk of major surface damage, but it reminded people that earthquake risks remain active in parts of Europe. Now to technology. Artificial intelligence became one of the biggest political issues of the month. At the G7 summit, leaders discussed AI safety, cybersecurity, children's online protection, and whether democratic countries should cooperate more closely on AI regulation. France also pushed for broader access to advanced AI tools and warned that too much dependence on American tech companies could become a strategic weakness for Europe. This is important because AI is no longer just about chatbots. It is now connected to national security, elections, jobs, cybersecurity, education, and global power. Countries are starting to realize that whoever controls the strongest AI systems may also control the next phase of the world economy. And finally, in sports, the 2026 World Cup has become one of the biggest global events of the month. Beyond the matches, the tournament has brought attention to record attendance, national pride, environmental protests, and major storylines involving some of the world's biggest football stars. The World Cup is once again proving that football is not just a sport. It is politics, culture, business, and identity all at once. So what does all this mean? The past month showed us a world under serious pressure. The Middle East is trying to step back from wider war. Ukraine is still fighting for survival. Europe is struggling with migration and security. Africa is pushing for more control over its resources. Latin America is facing economic unrest. Asia is preparing for a more dangerous security environment. The global economy is slowing. Climate warnings are getting louder, and artificial intelligence is becoming a new battlefield for global power. That's your World News Roundup from all over. For more brief but important updates from around the world, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. This is All Over, bringing the world to you, one story at a time.